Commemoration ceremonies have been taking place here in Nigeria to mark 20 years since the assassination of the former Nigerian Attorney General and Minister of Justice and former Governor of Oyo State, Chief Bola Ige. He was shot at his home in Ibadan in southwest Nigeria on December the 23rd, 2001. 2 decades later, no clear motive for the murder has been established and police are still hunting his killers. Mr. Ige was a hugely influential Nigerian politician, and in tribute to his towering legacy, plays have been staged and church services held. But 20 years on, in a country with such a complicated landscape, finding out why Chief Ige died is still proving to be very difficult indeed. I'll be joined by his son, Muyiwa Ige, and by Wale Ojo, one of Nigeria's top actors, who's part of Chief Ige's remembrance commemorations. Also on the program, as the new year approaches, 2 global issues are still with us, but that we desperately wish weren't. 2 grim notes to end 2021 on. The first, of course, the pandemic. Lots of huge developments there, from new variants and vaccines to the staggering number of deaths and the extraordinary capability of transmission. And the second is the state of global warming, with many parts of the world seeing real consequences, besieged by wildfires, flooding, heat waves and drought. So as we enter a new year, big questions remain. When does all this end? We have analysis. I'm Charles Enyegolu, and this is the Arise interview. Now, family, friends and many Nigerians have been marking 20 years since the former Nigerian Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Chief Bola Ige, who was also a former Governor of Oyo State in Nigeria's southwest region, was killed by an assassin's bullet in Ibadan. He was 71 when he died, but he was a man full of youthful vigor, praised for his achievements, his leadership and his vision. Ceremonies have been held in the southwest to mark his assassination, and there is almost a sense that Nigeria is commemorating the anniversary as a form of atonement, people gathering to say sorry, particularly in Ibadan, where he was shot, a city that will forever be linked to one of the most traumatic days in Nigerian history. But with all the attempts to try and expunge the guilt that still lingers around it, there's been scant justice for Chief Bola Ige and his family. Here he is, immortalized in this commemorative stage play.
Bola Ige, Sunreo, you have earned a place among the ancestors. Walk tall and emerge mysterious from the land of midgets to fight and challenge those who will deny justice. Farewell. Walk tall among the ancestors.
And joining me now to remember the late, great Chief Bola Ige is his son, Muyiwa, and the hugely accomplished Nigerian international actor that you saw there, Wale Ojo, who's helping to immortalize Chief Ige through that stage play. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Really good to have you on the program. And I'll start with you, Muyiwa. 20 years on, how much has this been about remembering both the achievements of your father, Chief Bola Ige, and the fact that justice is yet to be served in this case?
Thank you, Charles. 20 years on, and we keep asking, who killed Bola Ige? The memorial services and remembrance that we've been holding for the last 20 years is one to prod the conscience of Nigerians. And we ask the question, who killed Ige? Why have we not found, I don't want to say why have we not found, because there was a trial in 2002 through 2003, which was basically a charade. But we keep asking that question. The Nigerian citizenry continue to ask the question, who killed Ige? He was an incredible spirit, incredible human being. As you mentioned, a sitting Attorney General, Chief Law Officer, who was gone down in his own private space on the 23rd of December 2001, 2 days to Christmas. Basically created a Black Christmas for everybody. And so every year we make it a duty to remember him, to showcase what the essence of the man. And in particular, this year, this 20th anniversary, I decided that we'll stage a play encapsulating the life of the man. From Kaduna boy, I mean, he grew up in Kaduna in the northern Nigeria up until age 13 when he was refused education, and then he came south and basically spent the rest of his life in Ibadan and died in Ibadan, got married in Ibadan. And so we decided to expand his autobiography of Kaduna boy to Kaduna boy, from Kaduna boy to Cicero of Esauke, because he was renowned to be an orator. And so we continue to keep the legacy alive.
Well, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us. Let me bring you in, Wale Ojo, and thank you for joining us. I expect the mood then for many people attending the stage play that you were in, the church services and all the other events, I expect the mood would have been like a pilgrimage. I mean, reverential and full of appreciative awe for a man whose life was so singular, but one that was snuffed out so horribly.
Yes, absolutely right, Charles. The mood was extremely somber, but there was a great turnout to honor this man who was so mercilessly slain down. And also the audience that came for the stage play were very moved by it, you know. And the young people that were there, you know, also remembered Bola Ige and his incredible achievements. And you know, it's like it's really, we're kind of saying we're hanging this on the conscience of a nation, Charles, and we're saying really, who killed Bola Ige? 20 years on, and is a testament to our justice system as a nation, that there still is nothing done to find the killers of Bola Ige, a Minister of Justice of this country. And I think what we've done with the stage play and with the memorial services that have gone on throughout the country is to keep his memory alive for a lot of Nigerians. And I think that's extremely important to do now and for the next 20, 30 years, no matter how long it takes to find out who his killers were.
Well, absolutely, and as you suggested there, there's a certain incongruity here, a sort of dramatic, grand, bitter, sort of Nigerian irony that this country's former Chief Law Officer and Minister of Justice has himself had justice elude him. But let me come to you, Muyiwa. If it's not too painful a memory, can you share with us how the events of that fateful day in December 2001 unfolded for you as his son? How do you recall the day's events?
Well, the morning of the 23rd of December started very well. Keep in mind that it's an annual ritual. We go to Esauke every Christmas. So the trip, our trajectory was heading due north, which was towards Esauke in Osun State. However, we had to detour and go to Lagos to pick up his brother, my father's older brother, who was relatively frail. He wanted to come back to Ibadan to be with his younger brothers. Anyway, the trip to Lagos took about 7 hours. By the time we got back in the evening, we checked his brother into the hospital, Olioro Hospital, and then we came back home. And within 7 minutes of our arrival, the whole world, our whole lives just went upside down. We were invaded by some gunmen and basically isolated my father, and the next thing was just a lone gunshot. And a few minutes after they had departed, I now got to him. Unfortunately, in trying to apply CPR, it was too late. By the time we took him back to the hospital where we were, barely an hour later, where the older brother was upstairs, the younger brother was brought in cold. And so that was what happened on that fateful 23rd December 2001, about 8:47 p.m. And the rest is history, basically. There was, obviously, the police got involved. They brought in someone who later became a DIG, Bola Ojo, who started the investigation. And there began the whole shenanigans. So it was an extraordinary evening, very painful, because the man had so much life in him. As a matter of fact.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Muyiwa, just hold that thought. Hold that thought. I apologize for interrupting you. We're going to come back and continue from here. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our remembrance of the former governor of Oyo State and former Nigerian Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Chief Bola Ige, who was assassinated 20 years ago this month. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Enyegolu. Now, what happened in Ibadan, capital of Oyo State in southwest Nigeria, some 20 years ago was to shake Nigeria and arguably the entire African continent. Nigeria's former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Chief Bola Ige, who was also a former governor of Oyo State, was mortally wounded by an assassin's bullet. Then, as now, there have been effusive tributes led by top politicians, captains of industry, religious leaders and entertainers, many still stunned by his killing on December the 23rd, 2001, just 2 days before Christmas. 2 decades later, his killers are yet to be apprehended, but this month his family and friends have been celebrating his remarkable life. And Chief Bola Ige's son, Muyiwa, and the Nigerian international actor Wale Ojo are still with me on the line from Ibadan. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. And let me come back to you, Muyiwa. I apologize for interrupting you. We had to take a break. But you were telling us about the events of that fateful day and what happened subsequently. And I wonder if there were any key witnesses to the grim events of that day. I mean, beyond the fact that you were all in the same house.
Well, key witnesses, there was a star witness, our security guard, who was basically the one that they sort of met when they were coming in, who was, obviously, he was a star witness, but during the particular trial, he was placed in the same precinct as the prime suspects, and obviously they tampered with him. And on the 9th of April 2003, he recanted, which basically threw the case, and which was very, very unfortunate, because a lot of work had been done by DIG Ojomo, and unfortunately she was also summarily removed from the case, just so that we wouldn't have any headway.
And I imagine that because this case remains unresolved and therefore open, I mean, the grim events of that day must still seem very close for you and your family.
Oh, very. I mean, the truth of the matter is there can't be closure until we get justice, really. A lot of people say, oh, well, why don't bother pursuing the case, but it's really foolish, because the truth of the matter, there's so many other unresolved assassinations in this land. And in particular, the one involving my late father, who was a chief law officer, it's almost sacrilegious that you have a chief law officer in a sitting Attorney General, and he can't get justice for now. Again, an event occurred on the 15th of December. There was what I'll call an assault, which is also a sacrilegious act, where my father was assaulted, his cap was removed, his necklace was ripped off. So actually the urchins got really close to him. And so this was 8 days before. And then after that was the assassination on the 23rd. So there's a thread. And so if the government really wants to do the right thing, by dusting up the files and sharpening the pencils and interrogating the actors at the time, including those who started the interrogation but were pulled off. Also, the security guards that were on duty on that day, that evening, interestingly, they were AWOL, and there's no record of them in the police force to date. And so there's need for rejigging and trying to do the right thing by Ige.
And let me stay with you, Muyiwa, and with that thread, because beyond the things that you're describing, there are a number of sort of broader issues that were happening in Nigeria, some of which apparently had his involvement. That, from what I read, there'd been something of a power struggle between two different factions in Osun State, which I understand he became involved in that. There were also religious tensions, and Chief Ige had been critical of the decision by some of Nigeria's northern states to introduce Islamic Sharia law, but dots have not been connected between his assassination and any of these broader issues.
No, anyone that tries to bring that to bear is just basically trying to be diversionary. I mean, the issue of whether Sharia or intervention, it's a constitutional issue. The issue of Bakassi case, he had actually worked hard on government of Nigeria winning the case, but unfortunately, Nigeria lost the case. And he had actually also written his resignation letter that by the 31st of March 2002, he would go back to his base to rejig the Alliance for Democracy, his party at the time, and also to hold on to the southwestern Nigeria, of which was his base. And so a lot of things were going on, but the truth of the matter is those arrested and that were filed and they were pinpointed as those that came in, and those ones that also tampered with the star witness, there's need to take a look at that again. So any diversionary issues will not really resolve it.
Well, I certainly hope that the case remains open and that the investigation continues apace. But let me come to you, Wale Ojo. Thank you for your patience. Of course, you were one of those who honored his memory with this sort of stage play. We saw you there prominently. But obviously a difficult period as well, because it is a reminder of a day of profound sadness for the family that you're friends with, for Nigeria and indeed for Africa. I wonder how you prepared in those circumstances for that role.
Well, I mean, I try to approach it as professionally as I can. I mean, firstly, I've known the Ige family for as long as I was a child. Muyiwa and I are very close friends. I know his cousins. The two families are very close. And so it was, yes, it was a deeply personal issue. But as from the point of view of an actor, I had to approach it thoroughly as a professional. And of course, we had a really great script to work with. Which was written by Professor Tunde Awosomi from the University of Ibadan, who was a fantastic writer and a director. He wrote the play, and incidentally, well, not incidentally, he also wrote Kaduna Boy, which reflected Bola Ige's years when he was in Kaduna, and then we tagged both together of Cicero of Sauke, and then brought those two phases of his life, Kaduna Boy and Cicero of Sauke, together. And it was in terms of the technicality of an actor, it was great working with Tunde as the director and the rest of the cast. We had a younger Bola Ige, played by Glory Olajide, and I played the older Ige, and it was a full ensemble cast of close to about 30 or 40 actors. And everybody just approached it professionally, and we tried to do the best that we can to bring the memory of this great man alive.
Well, I'm glad you did that, because that brings back his memory and keeps it fresh in the minds of people. But we've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds or so, Muyiwa. So before we go, what sort of memorial do you think, and I was referring to Muyiwa there, if we could get him on the screen, what sort of memorial do you think Nigeria should have to truly honor a man who not only achieved the heights as a politician, but trod the sacred ground of legal and constitutional government? And we've got, it's really unfortunate, I've been given the wrong timings again, and I'm sorry we can't take this last question, but I appreciate very much indeed your joining us, Muyiwa from Ibadan, and Wale Ojo also there in Ibadan.